Welcome to the Eerie Hour. Some places don't just haunt you, they wait. This place waits. It breathes dust and stillness, an old house settling deeper into its own forgotten earth. Its secrets aren't whispered. They are pressed into the air like old paper, like a scent you can't quite place, both familiar and foreign. It's here, in the quiet, that you find yourself drawn into the slow creep of something else, something that watches from the corners of the eye, listens just beyond the range of hearing. If you enjoy descending into the strange and the forgotten, don't forget to like and subscribe, and share your theories below. Now, let's begin. But remember, once the story starts, something always follows. Dust motes dance like hesitant ghosts in the single shaft of sunlight slicing through the attic window. The air is thick, carrying the dry, sweet scent of decay and aged cellulose. You weren't looking for anything specific, just clearing out the forgotten things, the remnants of lives lived long before yours. And then you see it, tucked beneath a stack of mildewed ledgers, not a book, but a folded expanse of thick, brittle paper, crisscrossed with faint lines and symbols that make no immediate sense. It feels cool beneath your fingertips, almost unnaturally so, despite the stale warmth of the attic. Unfolding it carefully reveals a strange, almost childlike rendering of what appears to be the house, but not quite. Proportions are skewed, angles are wrong, and prominently marked near a part of the drawing that corresponds vaguely to the oldest wing is a symbol you don't recognize, and a single stark word, exit, or perhaps entrance. The script is archaic, faded. Beside the paper, nestled in the same forgotten recess, is a key. It's heavy, wrought from a dark, unidentifiable metal that seems to absorb the light rather than reflect it. The bit is intricate, unlike any lock you've ever seen. Holding it sends a shiver up your arm, a deep internal cold that has nothing to do with the temperature of the room. It feels significant, weighted with unspoken purpose. An initial flicker of curiosity ignites, a mild intrigue at finding such odd relics. But as you sit there, dust settling back into place around you, the feeling shifts. The map and key seem to hum with a low, silent frequency only you can perceive. Curiosity twists into something sharper, more consuming. You find yourself tracing the strange lines on the map, the cryptic symbol, the peculiar shape of the key's teeth, over and over. Sleep offers little respite. The house feels different now, more watchful. Doors, previously just entries and exits, now seem like deliberate boundaries, silent keepers of secrets. Every closed door feels significant. Every locked drawer potentially holds another piece of this strange puzzle. The map lies open on your table downstairs, the key beside it. You keep returning to them, feeling an irresistible pull, a quiet obsession taking root. The symbol near the exit mark seems to subtly shift in your peripheral vision. Or perhaps it's just the strain on your eyes. The air around the key feels perceptibly colder now, a small bubble of unnatural chill in the room. You pick it up again. The cold is deeper this time, resonating directly into your bones. No longer a matter of simple discovery. You feel inexplicably drawn into this forgotten thing, pulled towards the unknown door promised by the whispering map. The cryptic symbol is a hook, a question mark etched into your mind, hinting at a meaning just beyond your grasp. The silence in the house is no longer empty. It feels heavy with waiting. You are no longer alone with your discovery. The quiet obsession has deepened its roots, twining around your thoughts until little else penetrates. Days blur together, marked only by the angle of the sun through the dusty windows, and the hours spent poring over the brittle map. The heavy, cold key, a constant weight in your pocket or hand. The cryptic symbol, a stylized knot or perhaps an eye, seems to pulse faintly when you stare at it too long, though you know logically it's only ink on paper. Yet the ink seems richer, darker in places than it was before. You find yourself tracing its lines, feeling a strange current, a phantom vibration beneath your finger. The map feels warmer in those moments, almost alive, as if responding to your attention. The key, however, remains relentlessly cold. You've tried it in every lock in the house, doors, cabinets, old trunks in the attic. None except its strange, intricate bite. Yet, holding it near certain walls, you feel a subtle shift in the air, a faint resistance, like pushing against an invisible current. It's strongest near the oldest part of the house, precisely where the map's distorted drawing places the exit mark. This house whispers to you now, not with sound, but with changes in pressure, temperature fluctuations that have no logical source, and shadows that cling a little too long in corners. One vivid atmospheric detail emerges, a faint sweet smell, like wilting flowers mixed with damp earth, whenever you are near the area indicated by the map. It wasn't there before. The psychological fracture point arrives not with a bang, but a slow dissolve. You realize you haven't eaten properly in days. Sleep is fitful, filled with dreams of dark corridors and doors that open into empty space. You catch your reflection in a dusty mirror and don't recognize the gaunt, wide-eyed person staring back. Time slips through your fingers like water. You meant to start laundry hours ago, but the key was in your hand, the map on the table, and suddenly, the light is fading outside. Fear is a cold knot in your stomach, but it's intertwined with a relentless compulsion, a need to find this door. The key is no longer just an object. It is a promise, a burden, an extension of your own hand, guiding you. The door isn't just a symbol on a map. It is becoming the singular focus of your existence, a physical place you must find. The supernatural event isn't a sudden manifestation, but a slow, pervasive shift in the house's reality around you, guided by the key and the map. The house itself seems to be reshaping, preparing. There's an ambiguous line that repeats in your thoughts, a phrase that surfaced while tracing the symbol. It doesn't open outward, but inward. What does that mean? A door within the house, or a door within yourself? Like before, the silence answers, but only with the rustle of unseen dust settling. The waiting continues. Following the subtle pulls of the key, the phantom resistance in the air, you find yourself drawn repeatedly to a section of wall in the oldest part of the house. A place with no visible door, no seam, just plaster and faded wallpaper. The scent of wilting flowers and damp earth is strongest here, thick and cloying. You press the key against the wall. There is no lock, no catch, but the cold emanating from the metal intensifies dramatically, burning rather than chilling your skin. Beneath your palm, pressed against the plaster, you feel a faint vibration, a low thrumming that seems to echo the silent frequency you felt from the map. This is the place. It has to be. The map's distorted drawing corresponds to this corner, the exit symbol hovering over this very spot. You run your hands over the wall, searching for any imperfection, any sign of a hidden panel. There is nothing. Yet the longer you stand there, the more the wall seems to soften, to recede slightly in your peripheral vision. The plaster seems to breathe, expanding and contracting by mere millimeters. This is the central uncanny event. The wall is not static. It is yielding, responding to the key's presence in your hand. The atmospheric detail here is the texture of the air itself. It feels heavy, viscous, like breathing through water. Sounds from the rest of the house seem muffled, distant, as if you've stepped into a pocket of altered reality. The dust motes still dance in stray light, but their movement seems slower, more deliberate in this spot. Your psychological fracture deepens into a desperate sort of hope mixed with rising dread. You know the door isn't physically there in the conventional sense, yet the map, the key, and the house itself insist it is. The cognitive dissonance is jarring, twisting your perception. You begin to question your sanity, your senses. Is the wall really moving, or is it just exhaustion, the culmination of days lost to this obsession? But the cold of the key, the persistent scent, the subtle thrumming, they are undeniable. The door motif is no longer just a concept or a symbol. It is this wall. It is a barrier that is both there and not there, a threshold waiting to be crossed. But how? The key is the only instrument you have, the only means hinted at by the map. You press it harder against the yielding surface. An ambiguous thought forms, chilling you to the bone. Perhaps the door isn't opened by the key, but opened for the key. The silence is absolute now in this spot, the waiting palpable. Something is gathering on the other side of this non-existent boundary. You stand before the wall, the heavy key pressed against its unyielding yet yielding surface. The scent of wilting flowers and damp earth is overwhelming here, almost suffocating. You close your eyes, focusing on the cold burn of the key against your palm and the phantom vibration in the plaster. You remember the ambiguous line, "It doesn't open outward, but inward." Perhaps it requires more than just proximity. Perhaps it requires intent or permission. You grip the key tighter, focusing all your fractured will, your desperate curiosity, your gnawing dread onto the simple act of wanting the wall to open. You imagine the intricate bit of the key sinking into an unseen lock, turning, the mechanism groaning to life behind the plaster. You picture the wall dissolving, revealing what lies beyond. The supernatural event is subtle, terrifying. The thrumming intensifies, vibrating up your arm, through your chest. The air around you feels charged, like before a storm. And then you hear it, a faint click, impossibly originating within the solid wall. It is followed by a low, grinding sound, like stone scraping on stone, coming from nowhere and everywhere at once. A seam of deepest shadow appears in the plaster where the map indicated the exit, a hairline fracture that wasn't there a second ago. It widens slightly, revealing not darkness, but an absence of light, a void that seems to drink the surrounding air. The vivid atmospheric detail is the temperature drop. It isn't just cold now, it's a profound, absolute chill, as if the void is sucking the warmth from the very atoms around it. Your breath mists instantly. The air smells of frost and something metallic, coppery. The psychological fracture is complete. Denial shatters. This is real. The fear is no longer a knot, but a gaping maw in your chest, screaming silently. Every instinct screams to turn and run, to flee this impossible threshold. But the compulsion, the unnatural pull, holds you rooted to the spot. You are staring into something that should not be, and your mind struggles to process the impossibility. A part of you knows this is a terrible mistake, yet another part feels a strange fatalistic calm, as if this was inevitable from the moment you found the key. The door motif is no longer a wall or a seam. It is this sliver of void, this glimpse of the impossible. The key in your hand feels like a brand, marking you as the one who found it, the one who dared to knock. You hear a sound from within the void, a soft, wet scrape. An ambiguous question whispers in your mind, originating from somewhere deep and cold. Did you expect to be alone? The void pulses, waiting. The silence is broken only by the sound of your own ragged breathing. The seam in the wall, the impossible void, remains open just a crack, a hungry line of absolute darkness in the familiar plaster. The metallic, frozen scent hangs heavy in the air, a constant reminder of the brief, terrifying glimpse within or the sound that scraped just beyond hearing. You didn't step through. You couldn't. But the threshold was breached, if only by intention and a sliver of altered reality. Now, the horror isn't confined to that one spot. It has seeped into the house like a stain. The supernatural event is this pervasive presence. You don't see it, not directly, but you feel it. It's in the way the shadows seem deeper, the corners seem closer. It's in the faint, echoing scrape that you hear sometimes when the house is quiet, as if something is dragging itself slowly across a rough surface, just out of sight. The air remains unnaturally cold in certain rooms, shifting unpredictably. You'll turn a corner and walk into a pocket of freezing air that makes the hair on your arms stand on end. The vivid atmospheric detail is the sound, or lack thereof. The normal creaks and groans of the old house are gone, replaced by an oppressive, heavy silence that magnifies the occasional scrape or a soft, wet thud from an indeterminate location. It feels like the house is holding its breath, listening alongside you. The psychological fracture has devolved into constant paranoia and a chilling sense of being observed. You jump at sudden noises, flinch from your own shadow. You find yourself talking to yourself, whispering reassurances or frantic questions into the empty rooms. You check the locks on the real doors repeatedly, knowing deep down they offer no protection against what is now inside or what came through the opening. Memories of the past few days are hazy, dreamlike. Did you really find a map, a key, or did you just imagine it? The ambiguous question, "Are you certain you closed it behind you?" gnaws at the edges of your thoughts. The door motif has transformed. It is no longer a place to find or a threshold to cross. It is a wound in reality, an opening that cannot be undone. It feels as though the boundary between here and there has been permanently thinned, allowing something to linger, to bleed through. The key is gone. You don't remember losing it, but it is no longer in your pocket, no longer on the table. Perhaps it simply ceased to be, its purpose fulfilled in opening the way. The silence in the house is no longer just empty. It is waiting, and you are now waiting with it, trapped in the echo of an opening that should never have been made. Something lingers just out of sight, listening. The days since the opening have blurred into a single, long twilight. The sharp edges of fear have dulled into a pervasive, weary dread. The house is different now, permanently scarred by the breach. The cold spots remain, shifting like unseen presences. The silence is a heavy blanket, occasionally punctuated by that faint, impossible scrape or the soft thud from rooms you know are empty. You don't search for the sounds anymore. You just listen, heart pounding a slow, exhausted rhythm against your ribs. The lingering psychological residue is profound. Sleep offers no true rest, only a descent into fragmented nightmares where corridors stretch endlessly and doors open into nothingness. The obsession with the key and the map is gone, replaced by an emptiness, a hollow space in your chest where curiosity used to reside. You move through the house like a ghost yourself, a silent inhabitant of a place that is no longer entirely yours. The unanswered questions hang in the stagnant air like cobwebs. What was on the map beyond the exit? What was behind the wall? Was it a place? A being? What did the cryptic symbol mean in the end? And what exactly is still here with you? There are no answers, only the echoes of the uncanny event, the feeling of a boundary violated, and the unsettling knowledge that some doors, once opened, can never truly be closed again. The recurring motif of the door has its final appearance not as a physical object, but as a perception. Every doorway in the house, every window, every mirror seems different now. They look like potential thresholds, places where the veil is thin. When you look into a mirror, your own reflection seems distant, layered over something dark and indistinct just behind it. You sit in the quiet, the only light the fading gray outside the window. The scrape sounds again, closer this time, just on the other side of the door to the hall. You freeze, listening. And if you hear it again tonight, don't answer, not yet. The map, or what you believe to be the map, led you away from the familiar lines of road and light. It guided you onto trails long claimed by thorn and shadow, toward a place the living had clearly forgotten how to reach. The air thickened with the scent of damp earth and leaf decay, a heavy, sweet rot that clung to your lungs. You pushed through tangled undergrowth, the sound of your own strained breath loud in the unnatural silence. It is the only sound for a long while. Just your passage breaking the deep, expectant hush. The destination emerges not as a landmark, but as an absence. A section of the world where the green things have grown too bold, too hungry, devouring stone and timber alike. A derelict estate, perhaps, or just a section of the city limits that has decided to opt out of existence, sinking back into the ground it was built upon. Crumbling walls weep ivy like dark tears. Windows gape like empty sockets. The stone underfoot feels different here, softer, somehow older than its apparent age suggests, like bone turned to dust. You follow the faint indication on the tattered paper, pushing deeper into the grounds. The path you thought you followed twists subtly behind you. A moment ago, the fallen tree lay to your left. Now, when you glance back, it is on the right, or perhaps it was never there at all. Disorientation blooms cold in your gut. A distinct psychological break occurs. Doubt, sharp and sudden. Is this the right place? Did the map lie? Or worse, is the place itself lying? It feels impossibly ancient, A ruin not merely weathered by time, but eroded by something else, something slow and deliberate. Then you see it, the door. It is not in a wall or a frame meant for passage. It is simply there, nestled within the root system of an ancient, twisted oak, overgrown with moss and fern, integrated so seamlessly into the trunk and the earth around it that it seems grown, not built. It is unlike any door you have ever seen. No handle, no hinges visible, just a dark, rectangular shape suggesting a way through the impossible. A patch of air near it feels strangely cold, a stark, unnatural chill that raises gooseflesh despite the oppressive humidity. As you circle the strange tree, your eyes catch on other anomalies. Objects out of place, a chipped teacup balanced on a high branch, a single, muddy boot half sunk into the solid stone path. And the doors, not just the one in the oak, but others, smaller ones, set into the base of crumbling pillars. A thin, vertical slit in the face of a vine-covered wall, framed like a door, but impossibly narrow. They are sealed, silent, numerous, each one a question asked in stone and wood. The symbolic thread of doors, once perhaps a simple marker on a map, now weaves through the environment like a dark current, hinting at layers upon layers of hidden, forbidden things. Standing before the main, impossibly large door in the oak, you hold your breath, listening. And from somewhere deep within the earth, from the vicinity of the sealed entrance, a brief, unsettling sound echoes up. Like a soft scrape of stone, or perhaps a hesitant knock. With the strange key in hand, you approach the forgotten door, the one tucked away behind layers of discarded things and dust that smells of undisturbed centuries. It's old wood, darker than it should be, heavy and plain. No handle, just the keyhole. The brass key, cool and unexpectedly clean, slides in without resistance. A soft click echoes louder than seems possible in the quiet air. A sound that feels less like a lock yielding and more like a breath being held. As you turn the key, the door doesn't creak or groan like old wood should. Instead, it swings inward with an odd, unnatural silence, a complete lack of sound or friction that feels profoundly wrong. It opens onto not a room. It opens onto something that shouldn't exist. It's a space that defies geometry, a vast, impossible expanse where perspective warps like heated glass. Surfaces fold into themselves, lines run crookedly into undefined depths, and light sources seem to emanate from nowhere, casting no shadows you can discern. The air within is still and cold, carrying a faint metallic tang, and the unsettling, persistent scent of something like old, stagnant water, mingled with ozone. This is your central uncanny event. The reality of the space is fundamentally broken. Intense fear grips you, a visceral surge of panic that tastes like bile at the back of your throat. Paranoia washes over you like a sudden, freezing wave. The space feels aware. It feels like eyes are tracing your every move, though there is nothing visible to see. Your perception fragments. For a fleeting moment, you see the space not as it is, but as a kaleidoscope of screaming faces. Then it snaps back, leaving you trembling, unsure if you saw anything at all. This is the psychological fracture, the moment the mind begins to break under impossible stress. You hesitate on the threshold, one foot still on the familiar floor outside. Behind you, the door seems to shimmer, its edges blurring, hinting at the supernatural manipulation of reality. It might not be there if you try to turn back. Looking into the distorted expanse is like looking into a mirror that reflects not your image, but the warped essence of yourself or the world you know, twisted and grotesque. This space is the distorted mirror, the symbolic thread made manifest, showing you not what is, but what could be if everything went horribly wrong. You catch a fleeting glimpse of movement, just at the extreme edge of your peripheral vision, a flicker in the impossible distance that is gone the instant you try to focus on it. The unsettling foreshadowing. Just beside the keyhole, almost worn flat into the dark wood, you notice a faded, odd inscription. An artifact left perhaps by someone else who found this door. It's a spiral twisting into itself, but broken in the middle. Two halves separated by a single, vertical line that doesn't quite connect either side. An ambiguous line, hinting at division or a connection severed. You step forward, drawn by a morbid fascination, leaving the last vestiges of the known world behind you as the door sighs shut. Again, with that chilling, impossible silence, cutting you off from whatever was behind you. Welcome to the eerie hour. Some places don't just haunt you, they wait, like the dust motes dancing in the single shaft of light cutting through the gloom of this old house, caught in currents you cannot feel. The air here holds secrets. It settles on everything, thick with time and something else. Something that whispers just below the threshold of hearing. You came looking for an answer, for a loose thread in the tapestry of the forgotten. But the house doesn't want to give it up easily. It breathes around you, a low, steady sigh that seems to emanate from the very walls, from the silence itself. The floorboards creak under your hesitant step, a sound that feels less like wood under weight and more like a bone groaning under strain. The air is cool, carrying the scent of decay and something vaguely sweet, like overripe fruit left in a sealed room for too long. You hold your breath, listening, but the house is patient. It has all the time in the world. If you enjoy descending into the strange and the forgotten, don't forget to like and subscribe, and share your theories below. Now, let's begin. But remember, once the story starts, something always follows. The air grows heavy, not just with dust, but with a palpable pressure that pushes in from all sides. It feels like standing at the bottom of a deep, still lake, the weight of the water immense and silent above. A low hum starts somewhere distant, vibrating through the floor and up into your bones. It is not the hum of machinery, but something organic, resonant. You walk deeper into the house, the light from the entrance fading behind you, swallowed by the encroaching shadows. The silence here is absolute, save for that unnerving hum and the thudding of your own heart, which feels entirely too loud in this quiet vacuum. You reach for a doorknob, but your fingers find only smooth, unyielding wall. It is as if the door you saw just moments ago has been erased, leaving no trace but a faint, cool patch on the surface. This simple disappearance sends a shiver down your spine, a cold seep of doubt that this place follows rules you understand. You try to retrace your steps, but the hallway seems to stretch, the shadows lengthening like hungry fingers. A flicker in your peripheral vision, a movement in the corner of a room as you pass an open doorway, makes you stop. You look directly at it, but there is nothing there. Just the hum, louder now. And the feeling of being watched by something that does not have eyes. The scent of overripe fruit intensifies, cloying and sickly sweet. Your hand goes to your pocket, searching for something familiar, but it finds only empty fabric. A small wave of panic washes over you. You can't recall what you were looking for. Was it important? The hum seems to deepen, resonating with the question. Perhaps some sounds aren't meant for human ears. The hum is no longer distant. It is here, all around, inside your head. It vibrates behind your eyes, making the world shimmer at the edges. The texture of the walls changes as you brush past. No longer plaster, but something fibrous and yielding, like damp felt. The air doesn't smell like fruit anymore, but like metal and old rain, a scent that triggers a confusing flash of memory. Standing on a train platform, rain slicking the concrete, but the memory feels borrowed, wrong. You see a door ahead, its wood dark and heavy, a stark silhouette against the gray wall. Relief washes over you. An exit, maybe? But as you approach, the door seems to shrink, receding into the wall the closer you get. You reach out, and it snaps back into place with a soft click. Now appearing just out of reach, it feels like a deliberate tease, a cruel game played by the space itself. A profound exhaustion settles upon you, heavy and sudden. You lean against the fibrous wall, and it gives slightly, soft like bruised skin. What was I doing here? The thought surfaces, not with panic this time, but with a weary indifference. The reason for your arrival seems distant, a forgotten dream. You try to recall your name, and for a moment it feels like a word you used to know, but have forgotten how to pronounce. This disconnect is more terrifying than the strange textures or the shifting doors. It's a void opening up inside you. The hum intensifies, and you realize it isn't just a sound. It feels like a gentle pressure, like fingers pressing against the inside of your skull, rearranging things. The air grows cold again, and a faint, high-pitched static joins the hum, like the hiss of a television screen tuned to a dead channel. The darkness feels less like absence of light and more like something actively consuming it. It is difficult to tell where the room ends and the shadows begin. You are within the space, or perhaps the space is now within you. The air tastes metallic, like blood and rust, and smells like soil disturbed after a long burial, a scent that triggers a wave of wrong memories. Faces you know you've never met, places you know you've never been. The walls pulse faintly with the low hum, the fibrous texture now seeming to writhe just beneath the surface. Doors appear everywhere, sketched in grime on the floor, outlined by faint luminescence on the ceiling, impossibly small doors set into the baseboards. None have hinges, none have handles, and none lead anywhere you recognize. They are just symbols, mockeries of escape. Your hand reaches for your face, and the texture of your own skin feels alien, too smooth, too cool. Who is feeling this? The question echoes in the space where your name used to be. You try to think of home, of outside, but the concepts are slippery, dissolving like smoke. The entity, or the space, works subtly, eroding the anchors of your reality. A voice whispers your name, or a name, and it sounds like someone you once knew, but twisted. The familiarity, a barbed hook. It offers a false memory, warm and inviting, of sitting by a fire, safe and loved. But the memory feels wrong, artificial, like a poorly constructed stage set. You push it away, and the voice hisses, the static intensifying into a roar. Looking down, you see a smooth gray stone lying on the fibrous ground, identical to one you might find on a beach, but here it is utterly out of place. It wasn't there a moment ago. It sits, unassuming, yet feels profoundly significant, like a single, concrete object in a world dissolving into illusion. The air shifts, becoming warm and humid, thick with an unnatural sweetness that makes you gag. The feeling of being watched is overwhelming now, not by eyes, but by the fabric of reality itself, which feels thin and fragile around you. Perhaps memory is just another kind of room. The smooth gray stone is in your hand now, though you don't remember picking it up. It feels warm, almost pulsing faintly in time with the pervasive hum. The air is thick and sweet. The smell of decay, stronger than ever, clinging to you like damp cloth. The doors continue to appear and vanish, sometimes shimmering like heat haze, sometimes solid and dark, always mocking. You stand in what feels like a vast, echoing chamber, though moments ago you were in a narrow hallway. The shift was instantaneous, a violent reorientation of space. Above, the ceiling is lost in shadow, but you can hear a faint, rhythmic dripping, steady and relentless, though no source is visible. It is the sound of time leaking away. Your thoughts are scattered, like leaves in a strong wind. Trying to grasp a coherent idea is impossible. They slip through your fingers, replaced by fragments of wrong memories, borrowed feelings. You see a reflection in a patch of polished floor ahead, but it isn't quite you. It is a distorted figure, hunched and gaunt, its eyes wide with terror, that feels intimately familiar, yet utterly alien. It raises a hand that mirrors your own movement, but its skin is the same gray as the stone you hold. The reflection looks back, but not at you. A profound sense of despair settles, cold and heavy. There is no way out, not through these illusory doors, not through fragmented memory, not through the wrong reflections. The static increases again, a deafening roar that seems to physically tear at the edges of your sanity. You cover your ears, but the sound is inside your head. The gray stone feels heavier now, dense with some unknown weight. It feels like an anchor, or perhaps a burden. The air temperature plummets, and you shiver violently, though the sweet, decaying scent remains. It is growing increasingly difficult to distinguish the boundary between the space and yourself. You are standing in the rain. The scent is sharp, metallic, like old iron and wet soil. The gray stone is still in your hand, cool and smooth. The hum is a low thrum now, like distant thunder. Around you, the air shimmers, and for a moment, you see the indistinct shapes of trees, dark against a bruised sky. It feels like outside. Relief floods you, sharp and sudden. But the relief is wrong. It feels thin, insincere. The trees ripple and fade, replaced by the familiar, pulsing walls. The endless, mocking doors. The rain continues to fall, but only on you, a confined, impossible downpour within the house. Each drop is icy cold, stinging against your skin. The rhythmic dripping from before intensifies, joining the impossible rain, a chorus of slow, steady dissolution. You try to speak, to call out, but the words catch in your throat, turning to dust. What was my name? The question surfaces again, desperate this time. but the answer is lost in the static that crackles around your ears. You look at the stone in your hand. It seems to absorb the faint light in the air, becoming darker, grayer. It feels like the only real thing left, a small, heavy point of certainty in a world of fluid falsehoods. You raise your hand, meaning to drop it, but your fingers refuse to open. They are locked around the stone, fused to it. The reflection appears again, not in polished floor, but shimmering in the air before you, more defined this time. It is still distorted, gray-skinned, but its eyes meet yours. They are filled with a profound, ancient sadness and a quiet acceptance. It reaches out its hand, mirroring your own, holding an identical gray stone. The gap between you closes, and for a moment, you feel a deep, unsettling resonance, like two tuning forks struck at the same time. A memory, faint and fragile, surfaces. A child's hand, holding a smooth gray stone, offering it to you. Was it yours? Was it theirs? The rain falls harder, blurring the reflection, blurring everything. The rain has stopped. The air is silent, save for the low hum that still seems to vibrate in your bones, quieter now, like a memory of sound. You are lying down. The surface beneath you is cool and hard like stone, but also soft and yielding like the fibrous wall. There are no doors here, just a vast, empty space stretching out in the gloom. The gray stone is no longer in your hand. You look for it, but your hand feels numb, unfamiliar. The feeling of being watched is gone, replaced by a profound, echoing solitude. Who was I? The question is no longer desperate, but a quiet curiosity, like contemplating a story read long ago. The wrong memories, the borrowed feelings, they are still there, but they feel distant, like static on an old radio, fading in and out. The sweet, decaying smell lingers, a faint ghost on the air. You try to sit up, but your body feels heavy, disconnected. The sense of self is fragmented, scattered like dust motes in a forgotten shaft of light. Perhaps the reflection is still out there, waiting. Perhaps the stone has simply found its true home. The only certainty is the quiet thrum, the low hum that is both inside and outside, a constant, gentle reminder of the space that has claimed you. It is just you now, and the silence, and the faint, persistent hum. And if you hear it again tonight, don't answer. Not yet. Welcome to the eerie hour. Some places don't just haunt you, they wait. This is one such place. Perhaps you found it, or perhaps it found you. It began as so many things do, with a simple threshold, an invitation whispered on a strange wind. This is not a story of a place you visit and leave. It is a story of a place that sinks its roots into the quiet corners of your mind, a place that watches from the static between stations, that breathes just outside the frame of vision. It asks questions you were not meant to answer, and reveals truths better left undisturbed. If you enjoy descending into the strange and the forgotten, don't forget to like and subscribe, and share your theories below. Now, let's begin. But remember, once the story starts, something always follows. You stand in the hall, the air thick with the scent of old paper and something else. Something faintly metallic and sweet, like spilled copper and forgotten rain. The door behind you is closed. It looks different now, smaller, the wood grain twisted into unsettling patterns, like a face caught in a silent scream. You don't remember closing it or even entering this house. this place of hushed corners and endless shadowed corridors. A low hum vibrates in the floorboards, a sound less heard than felt, settling in your teeth and the marrow of your bones. It feels like static, not from a device, but from the air itself, charged with unspoken potential. This initial disorientation is the first crack, the moment your certainty about reality begins to fray. You reach for the doorknob, the recurring motif asserting itself early, a simple brass circle promising escape, but your hand stops. It's not fear that holds you, not yet, but a profound, unnatural reluctance, as if the door itself is whispering reasons to steady. There is a faint, almost imperceptible pressure against your palm, a suggestion of resistance that wasn't there before. It's an uncanny event, the first active sign that this place is aware of you. The wallpaper breathes a slow sigh of dust, exhaling the secrets it has held for centuries. Did I choose this? A thought drifts, foreign and chilling, an ambiguous line that plants the seed of doubt about your own agency. The silence beyond the static hum is deep, absolute, the kind that swallows sound and makes you question if the outside world still exists. You turn away from the changed door. There is nowhere to go but deeper into the quiet. You move down the corridor, drawn by a subtle shift in the quality of the air. A patch of cool dampness that clings to your skin like spectral fingers. The walls are lined with doors, more doors than a house of this size could possibly contain, spaced too closely together, some squat and wide, others tall and narrow, like forgotten coffins stood on end. Each one is unique, yet unsettlingly similar, variations on a theme of thresholds and secrets. You reach out to touch a handle, an ornate silver one twisted into the shape of a grasping hand, and it is ice cold, radiating a damp chill that seems to seep into your bones. This vivid atmospheric detail anchors the growing dread. You pull your hand back sharply. That cold feels wrong, unnatural. The static hum intensifies as you pass certain doors, crackling like frayed nerves, occasionally resolving into something that almost sounds like a word or a sigh. The doors, the motif, are not just exits or entrances. They are statements, questions posed in wood and metal. An uncanny event occurs as one door, plain and gray, located far down the hall, appears to slowly open inward by a fraction of an inch as you watch it from the corner of your eye. No draft explains it. No sound accompanies it. Just the silent, deliberate movement. A wave of nauseating uncertainty washes over you, a psychological fracture that makes the hallway seem to tilt. Is this place real, or am I dreaming it? The line is ambiguous, a question posed by your fracturing mind, echoing the earlier doubt about choice. You hesitate, poised between turning back to the impossible original door or advancing towards the one that has just opened. The air grows heavier with each step, pressing in. The gray door is now closed again as you approach, sealed as if it had never moved. Yet a thin line of light spills from underneath, a sickly yellow glow that pulses faintly in time with the rhythmic thudding now audible from within. The static hum is louder here, a constant, low roar just behind your ears, laced with what sounds like distorted music or faint, distressed animal cries. This is the central supernatural event of this section, the pulsing light and the impossible sounds from a sealed room. You press your ear against the wood. The thudding is rhythmic, like a slow heartbeat, or perhaps something being struck repeatedly, deliberately. The wood feels oddly yielding under your palm, spongy like old moss. This tactile detail adds to the atmosphere of decay and unease. A moment of intense psychological fracture hits you. You cannot recall your name. You know you had one, a series of sounds that identified you, but it is gone, replaced by a buzzing emptiness in your mind, part of the omnipresent static. The loss is terrifying, a piece of yourself erased by this place. The door, the motif, remains closed, denying access, becoming a symbol not just of what is hidden, but of what is kept from you. Why open only to close again? What does it want me to do? The ambiguous line hangs in the air, suggesting a conscious entity behind the strangeness, an intent you cannot grasp. You step back, the gray door a silent, unsettling puzzle in the endless hall of doors. The rhythmic thudding continues, indifferent to your confusion. You wander further, the hallway twisting in ways that defy geometry, sometimes narrow and claustrophobic, sometimes impossibly wide, revealing vast, empty spaces filled with nothing but the buzzing static and the scent of dust and something else, something acrid and metallic. Shadows lengthen and shrink independent of any light source, pooling in corners like dark water, crawling up the walls like silent insects. This is the supernatural event, the visible warping of perception and environment. The static is almost unbearable now, a physical pressure in your skull, and buried within it are clear whispers, just below the threshold of understanding, like fragmented voices speaking in a dead language. They are not words you recognize, yet they feel important, urgent. The recurring motif of doors continues. Some are now set into the floor, others hang suspended in the air, slowly turning, revealing glimpses of impossible landscapes within their frames. A sky of burning green, a sea of liquid shadow. You avert your eyes, the sight triggering a profound psychological fracture, the conviction that you have been here before, perhaps many times, trapped in a loop you cannot escape, memory fragmented and reassembling incorrectly. You are delusional, lost in time within this place. The air grows unnaturally cold, a sharp, biting chill that has nothing to do with temperature, a vivid atmospheric detail that seeps into your bones. Are the whispers trying to help, or just playing with my mind? The ambiguity is palpable, leaving you isolated with your own fractured thoughts and the omnipresent sound. There is no exit, only more doors leading to uncertainty. The static collapses into a profound, crushing silence, heavier and more terrifying than any noise. It is the silence that settles after a catastrophe, after everything has stopped screaming. This is the central supernatural event. The absence of sound becomes a physical presence. You stand in a vast, circular chamber that wasn't here a moment ago, a space where the endless hall of doors abruptly terminates. The walls are smooth, black, absorbing all light, all hope. And there, where the original door should have been, where you entered this nightmare, stands an impossible structure. It is not a door, nor a wall, but a looming geometrical impossibility crafted from non-Euclidean angles and a material that drinks the light. It pulsates with a faint internal glow that is the opposite of light, a void made visible. This is the symbolic motif, the original door replaced by the true trap. A terrifying clarity washes over you, a psychological fracture that borders on acceptance and madness. You understand now. The exit wasn't an exit. It was an entrance for this place, where perhaps you realize with chilling certainty it was the place where things go to be forgotten, and you are one of them. The presence, silent now, feels distinct, immense, watching from behind the void structure, influencing your thoughts directly, confirming your despair. There is no escape, no other door. A final desperate thought flickers. Is this where it ends, or where it begins again? It's an ambiguous line, a final foreshadowing of the cyclical nature, your role in feeding the loop. The air here smells of ozone and despair, a vivid atmospheric detail that burns in your nostrils. The void structure remains, a silent, oppressive monument to impossibility. But the immediate crushing presence has receded, leaving behind a vacuum filled only with residual dread and the ghost of the static, now humming faintly within your own skull. The circular chamber isn't quite so vast anymore. It seems to shrink and expand subtly, like a tired breath. You sit on the cold, smooth floor, the silence no longer absolute, but containing the low, internal hum and the distant echo of that rhythmic thudding from the gray door, which is now nowhere to be seen. The terror has lessened, replaced by a deep, bone-weary resignation. You are still here. The psychological residue is the terrifying clarity that remains, the understanding of the trap, but it is dulled by exhaustion, twisted into something akin to quiet madness. You look at your hands. They feel like your own, yet distant. The recurring motif, the doors, are gone from this chamber, replaced by the single, looming impossibility of the void. But you know they are still out there, waiting in the non-existent hallways that branch from this central point. The unanswered questions linger. What is this place? What is the presence? What was the thudding? What was the original door? And your role? What was your role in opening it? The void structure doesn't offer answers. It simply is. A promise of finality that never seems to arrive. You close your eyes, the internal static, a soft lullaby of entrapment. The world outside, if it ever existed, feels impossibly far away, a forgotten dream. And if you hear it again tonight, don't answer. Not yet. The great rush, the frantic clawing at edges, is long gone. It dissolved like mist in the sun, leaving behind only a profound, unnatural quiet. The world outside the remembered confines, or is it inside the mind, has settled into a state of static existence. You are not escaping. You are merely being. The air here holds a perpetual chill that no amount of layering can dispel, seeping deep into the bone, regardless of the illusory warmth of the sky, if there is one. The light itself feels thin, like cheap paint stretched across an infinite canvas, giving everything a flat, two-dimensional quality. Memory fragments surface unbidden, sharp shards of a life that feels less real than a dream. Laughter, a name, the simple weight of a key in a familiar hand. They sting with a quiet agony before dissolving back into the pervasive dullness. A constant sense of unease hums beneath the surface, a low, vibrating frequency that whispers, "Wrong, wrong. This is all wrong." And yet, there is a deep, weary resignation now, a psychological break into acceptance. The mind, perhaps as a final act of self-preservation or surrender, has begun to integrate the absurdity, finding a twisted logic in the illogic. Lingering insanity bubbles just below the surface, sometimes manifesting as a quiet conversation with empty space, sometimes as a desperate, futile attempt to retrace steps that no longer exist. This is the quiet despair. The horror is not a shape in the corner or a sound in the dark. It is the air you breathe, the ground under your feet, the very fabric of perception. It is the new normal, a pervasive atmosphere, a permanent shift caused by the foolish act of opening the door. It didn't consume violently, it simply rearranged. It seeped into the edges of reality and pulled it taut, distorting the patterns, muting the colors, slowing the pulse of time itself. And the doors, they are everywhere now, painted on featureless walls that weren't there yesterday, standing solitary in the middle of empty plains. Etched into the bark of trees that have no leaves, some gleam with false promise, others sag with ancient wood rot. They are not exits. They are not entrances. They are reminders, silent sentinels of the choice made, the threshold crossed, the severance from the world that was. You try to open one, a small red door set into a rock face, and your hand passes through it as if it were painted smoke. Meaningless, inescapable. This is the epilogue. This is how the story doesn't end, but simply persists. The impact of the horror wasn't a scream or a fight. It was this quiet dissolution, this gentle, irreversible unmaking. The character you followed? They are here. Trapped, yes, but perhaps more accurately, they are the trap. They are part of the environment now, woven into the pervasive wrongness, a permanent echo of a brief intrusion. Perhaps they are a warning, if anyone were left to witness. But there is no one. The door is gone, or perhaps it was never a door to an exit, but a mechanism for change. And whatever used it didn't leave. It became the place itself. The nature of the exit remains unresolved because there was no exit, only an alteration. What used it? Perhaps it wasn't a what, but a how. A principle of reality that responded to a deliberate invitation of chaos. The unsettling impression remains. The true terror wasn't being chased, but becoming the prison. The final thought, like a stone settling in cold water. Maybe the door didn't open to let something in, but to let something out of us. And if you hear it again tonight, don't answer. Not yet.